GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show that covers the wild world of crypto like a toupee covers your uncle's shiny bald head. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we're answering one simple question for you. Should you sell your ETH and move it into Solana? Here to guide us is legendary crypto investor Lark Davis, who holds both ETH and Solana. I should start by saying that. Now, today's episode is made possible by CoinGecko API, so stick around till the end to hear an exclusive offer for you, our Milk Road listeners. Lark, we've had a bunch of questions in the Milk Road Pro Discord from our community on Twitter. I know you've been getting the same questions on Twitter as well. Has the Ethereum ETF been a failure? Should I sell my ETH and move it all into Solana? Screw this. I'm buying Solana. This is what I'm seeing across the timeline. What do you think when you see this?
Well, I don't think there's any denying that Solana has been the breakout coin of this cycle. I mean, it's the preferred casino right now. Everybody wants to go and ape into meme coins on Solana, and that's great. Solana's got positive use cases. There's more stuff going on, the builders and stuff, whatever, showing up. And the price action has been very, very strong. It has been a very strong coin to be trading, a very strong coin to be holding. So there's no denying that reality. But, we'll pour a little, water on the fire here, so to speak. Ethereum remains a very attractive asset, in my opinion. Now, look, in terms of my holdings, I am much, much deeper into Ethereum. In fact, I have so little Solana, I don't even count it as part of my portfolio holdings. I have, I don't know, 20 Sol or something like that. But I have investments in the Solana ecosystem, right? So to make that clear. That being said, to come out now and say, well, the Ethereum ETF has been a failure, have we forgotten our history so quickly? Because I remember the exact same thing was said about the Bitcoin ETF a week after launch. Oh, it's been a big failure. Look, the price has gone down 20%. Therefore, it has failed utterly. And then what happened? Of course, we had buy the rumor, sell the news. We had Grayscale starting to unwind in the first days, which created a lot of panic. And even though we knew it was going to come and to happen, still people like to panic in the market. And so the price of Bitcoin went down around 20% in the 2 weeks following the listing date of the ETF. And then we proceeded to move from $38,000 to $73,000 in about 6 weeks. That's almost 100% gain for Bitcoin there. Now, I'm not saying Ethereum is going to do exactly the same thing. We don't know. We don't have crystal balls around here. However, we're seeing very similar attitudes play out right now. We're seeing very similar market sentiment play out right now. And even back then, everybody was saying, sell your Bitcoin and buy Solana. Well, it could have been interesting back then. But anyway, regardless, I still have faith that we're going to see great traction starting to build here from the Ethereum ETF. And one of the biggest things that I'm actually excited to see, and is actually in a weird way currently probably causing a bit of, let's say, a bit of a hangover on the price, is the Grayscale ETF outflows. Now, this is the biggest sort of drama point with Ethereum ETFs. And so far, we've seen 15% of the supply or something like that to come out. It's probably going to be 20% when we get the numbers for the 29th. So look, we're seeing huge outflows, and that's to be expected. Again, it's a weird situation with Grayscale and what they've decided to do with having a 2.5% fee. Is basically they want everybody to leave, or they want enough people to leave, but they're gambling on enough people staying that they're going to make more money anyway, because they're 10x the next nearest fees, 10x. But they're going to assume, you know what, probably half the people are going to not want to take the capital gains hit. And so maybe we'll lose half of our assets under management. We're going to keep the other half. So we'll effectively get a 1.25% fee, which is 5x what everyone else is getting. So we're still going to make more money, which is, kind of Machiavellian, but I get it. Okay, from a business perspective, but long term, not great. Short term, not great either, because we see huge outflows happening. But much like with Bitcoin, we saw huge outflows in the first 2 weeks. And then what happens? Most of the people who want to reposition from the Ethereum Grayscale ETF will reposition over Fidelity, they'll reposition over to BlackRock. Some people will take profits, obviously. Some people have been holding this stuff for a very long time. They're finally getting liquidity. They're checking out, and that's fine to do too. But overall, I think this is one of those stories that widely misunderstood and given more importance short-term price action-wise than really is warranted, because the long-term price impact has such big potential.
Other than the Grayscale outflows, which have been significant, what are your thoughts on the Ethereum ETF so far. We've seen we're recording this on Monday, so we don't have Monday's data yet, but we have 4 days from last week. Only 4 days, might I remind you. So everybody take a deep breath for a second here. But what are you seeing so far?
We're seeing great volumes. I think that's one thing to point out. Volumes have been absolutely huge. Definitely interest here from the side of Wall Street. BlackRock and Fidelity have seen great flows. Again, a lot of that's going to be repositioning. And I think that to an extent, you're going to see Wall Street waiting a bit to go in heavily, much like they did with the Bitcoin ETF. We had great flows, sure, but most of it was just repositioning the first few weeks, grayscale money flowing to other funds or getting out. And once Wall Street's probably seen enough of that grayscale money come out, then they'll start deploying capital heavily into Ethereum, would be my bet. So right now, flow's been good, volume's been good, but I think we'll really see that ramp up once Wall Street understands that the grayscale problem has largely subsided.
Okay, so if we go back to the initial question here, which is, should I rotate out of ETH and into Solana? How do you think about answering that question?
It's a very interesting question to think about because I suppose, assumption here is that we're going to see massive outperformance continue for Solana, and perhaps either Ethereum kind of just approximately goes to plan and we eventually rise up to 15K as we think could happen as our sort of long-term price prediction for this cycle, and it just kind of follows the plan, or it even underperforms because everybody's getting so underwhelmed with it. Nobody uses the Ethereum main chain anymore except all the people who use it every day, and nobody's using layer twos except the millions of people who are using it every day. Aside from that kind of stuff, right? Demand for Ethereum is definitely there as an asset. You have to remember it is the gas of all these layer two networks. Well, most of the layer two networks, let's say some use other gas, but for the majority of them, they're using it as gas. So definitely, I'd say ETH's at least going to continue to plan. So when you want to say, okay, I'm going to sell my Ethereum and buy Solana, you're accounting for, you want to see outperformance happen. Now, my prediction for Solana has been that it's going to end up around $1,000, maybe $1,100, sort of at the market top, right? So in that scenario, let's say Solana goes to $1,100, Ethereum goes to $15,000. You've maybe outperformed. You've, of course, taken the risk. You've taken the early tax hit. For the majority of you listening, you have to pay tax when you sell that Ethereum for the Solana, okay? And that could affect your planning on how the cycle goes, having to pay taxes earlier than you planned to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You might be falling into the short-term versus long-term capital gains, depending on when you bought your ETH, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of things to think about here, okay? And for what? If that's where the prices end up, then you've outperformed Ethereum by 30, 40%, maybe something like that, which doesn't necessarily sound worth the risk. The counter argument to that almost would be, well, Ethereum's done. It's the old horse. We're done beating it. We're moving on to the next thing. And Solana is the next thing. And Solana is going to flip Ethereum. I don't think that's going to happen, at least not this. Like, maybe we can start talking about that in a few years. But I think Ethereum's number 2 position currently looking pretty solid, considering everything that's going on in the Ethereum ecosystem, not just the liquidity from ETFs, et cetera, but everything we've talked about already too. But you would then be assuming, okay, Solana is going to outperform Ethereum 2x, 3x. I mean, right now it's about 20% of the market cap of Ethereum. Could there be an argument for it for having half the market cap of Ethereum this cycle on a sort of tracking basis, right? So Ethereum goes up, and Solana goes up, and Solana just goes up more. So in that situation, you would double, potentially even triple your returns by investing in Solana and getting out of Ethereum. Again, there's a lot of assumptions to be made here on that situation, and that's sort of the heavy bull case for Solana, and assuming that none of the competitors to Solana, whether that be Aptos or Sway or any of the other ones, are going to start tapping into its market share as well.
So I think there's a few different reasons why this is coming up. Obviously, the ETH ETF not pumping prices is probably one of the big reasons. Everyone's thinking, well, what the heck? I expected this. You listeners might remember, I hope you remember, we told you that this is going to happen. We expected this to be, and not just myself and Lark, but Matt Hogan, Zeneca, many guests on the show over the past 2 weeks have said exactly this, that we did not know what would happen in the first few weeks of the ETF. If we looked at Bitcoin price went down. And then, as you said, it skyrocketed after that. So let's be ready for that same thing. So I think we can put the ETH ETF aside for a second, because we thought this was likely going to be the case, but it doesn't mean the ETH ETF is a failure. The other thing that a lot of people keep bringing up is activity. A lot of people are talking about how Solana now tops Ethereum in DEX volume, in active addresses, in fees, in revenue generation. How do you think about this? And does this give you the reason to say, yeah, Solana's has better upside right now?
This is one of the most interesting things about Solana right now, and a lot of these metrics do fail to sort of take in the broader Ethereum ecosystem majority of time when they're talked about. Not all the time. Sometimes you take that in as well. And we're really, when we talk about the broader Ethereum ecosystem, we're primarily talking about Base and Arbitrum, stuff like Optimism. And then, yeah, we can start going right down the tier level, ZK Sync, Lineal, stuff that are just not seeing the same levels of usage or adoption as like Base and Arbitrum in particular. But they're very much Ethereum ecosystem coins and have a direct impact on the demand and the price of Ethereum. So they're very much worth counting in here. But when we see Solana and what it's doing right now, it is absolutely a breakout in terms of adoption this cycle. Because again, Solana is the preferred casino of this cycle. And it reminds me a lot of where we saw Ethereum in 2017, because Ethereum's big use case in 2017 was ICOs, and that drove the network crazy. Price of ETH went crazy, all that kind of stuff. Right now, for most people, I would ask you, what are a lot of protocols on Solana beyond meme coins? And look, we got a lot of stuff happening out there, right? We have real estate markets on Parcel. We have perpetual swaps on Drift. We have, DEX aggregation with Jupiter and stuff like that, and Launchpad over there too. But most of the attention, right now is for meme coins on Solana. And it's sort of the killer app, so to speak. And I know they're different coins, but if you think about it as a sort of total idea, it's the killer app right now for Solana. People love the speculation. People love the allure of hoping to make it big and get rich overnight. So that's driving massive activity on chain right now. People love it. People love it. You can't fight that reality. And so we're seeing decentralized exchange volumes going absolutely insane and topping some days even multiple, not just Ethereum, but Ethereum plus Base plus Arbitrum combined. Sometimes we're seeing these kind of volumes being swapped. So absolutely, when you consider the metrics of Solana, active addresses, daily total transactions, revenue, all this stuff, Solana does feel undervalued by comparison to Ethereum right now. Does that mean that case will necessarily continue? Does that mean that others can't get into the market share and stuff like that? Hard to say. Solana's shown insane strength so far. And again, we have to point out that if you are going to sell your Ethereum for Solana, you're expecting that all this stuff is going to have very strong impact, and Solana is going to outperform to an order of magnitude of 2 or 3x, and potentially even at some point track very closely with the market cap of Ethereum, and it'll be the third place coin with a $400 billion market cap or whatever Ethereum happens to be approximately at the time. That would be the trade idea behind saying this is worth swapping your ETH for SOL at this stage in the market. Had we looked back a few months, ETH has underperformed versus Solana largely throughout the cycle, right? So if you go back to 2023, for example, Ethereum was $1,000 and Solana was $20. So Solana's done a 10x and Ethereum has done 3x in that time. So it's very much different in terms of the returns that have already happened. And is that going to continue, or has Solana already had the majority of that catch-up move? It's an interesting thought. I don't have a definitive answer for you guys. We're just talking about what could be here. If you think all those metrics have incredible importance and that it's going to see Solana outperformance continue to an order of magnitude, then perhaps there's something to it.
Right. So if you were taking the Solana side of this bet, you would be betting that this activity will not only continue, but will increase in accordance as it has already this cycle, which you should be comfortable that that's your outlook and that's your belief. And then, not to mention, you also need to think about, because one thing that I've heard multiple people say is, what do you want to be holding at the end of this cycle? Obviously, hopefully you have a exit strategy and you sell at the right time, but you're not going to sell everything. You're probably going to keep some. And maybe you don't time it right. That's always a possibility. You always have to consider
Mhm.
the downside with your investments. What do you think is the downside of ETH versus the downside of Solana? The upside feels pretty clear. The upside right now, we've gone through that. But what about the downside of each?
It's an interesting thought to think about the end of the bull market, right? And where,
Mhm.
where we get to, great. That's all very exciting. And people don't generally want to think about what comes next because it's scary and it's uncertain. But the truth is, a lot of people will have to round trip a lot of their bags. How far down do any of these coins go? Will institutional demand make the difference this time? To some extent, yes. To some extent, no. Maybe Bitcoin's going to have its shallowest bear market ever, and it's only going to drop 65% this time. Cool, right? Ethereum's going to have its shallowest bear market ever. It's only going to drop 70% this time.
Still a
And
large drop.
exactly, right? And Solana's it's going to be the breakout, the story, and it's only going to drop 75% this time, right? So the truth about crypto assets more broadly is that, again, we've discussed the idea that it's a beta, the beta, the beta, the beta, beta. We are pretty far on the risk spectrum for the average investor. Despite our deep belief in this being the future of finance and all that fun kind of stuff, you still have to recognize the reality this market moves pretty strongly in cycles. Now, I have thought a long time about this, and my current plan, I'm assuming I could hold myself properly accountable to the plan, is I will be selling everything except my Bitcoin, including my Ethereum. So I'm going to sell my Ethereum this cycle. If I can sell it over 10K, I'll be a very happy camper. If we do get up to 15K, that'd be epic. Great. Much like I think with Solana. Solana at 1100 bucks is probably going to be a pretty juicy sales point, not financial advice, guys. We're just talking about what the charts are showing here. But that if we see Solana outperformance, that $1,100 target may be insufficient, right? This is based on sort of standard modeling and standard demand. If we look back as an interesting example, Dogecoin last cycle, Dogecoin blew through everything, right? So if you'd charted out where Dogecoin could go this cycle, you would have been dramatically wrong to the downside because it went so much higher and blew right past all the Fibonacci levels and all that kind of stuff to actually basically go an entire level higher in terms of that. So again, selling your ETH now, jumping into Solana, the expectation would be that there's going to be some kind of massive outperformance moment and that the market won't sort of regulate itself in its overall demand. Once it starts getting too big, people start going down the risk spectrum, looking for other stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
So, to summarize on today's episode, you are or are not selling your ETH for Solana right now.
I am not selling my ETH for Solana right now. The idea has crossed my mind. Don't get me wrong. But I think that overall, Ethereum still has great upside left in it. Come on, guys, if it goes to 15K, it's still a 5x from here, right? Not bad. Not bad, right? And to sell that to jump into Solana, and I'm a big fan of Solana. I use Solana all the time, just to be clear, right? And obviously, hindsight, should have bought a truckload of Solana at 20 bucks, but I didn't. Okay. And that's fine. Congrats to everybody who did. We're always rooting for people's bags around here, right? But the Solana upside from here, is it 6x? Is it 7x? 8x, maybe? That would be more sort of in line with my thinking, my current projections, that maybe those projections are not bullish enough and I'm underestimating the potential of Solana for this cycle. But to jump out of something that I think is probably going to do a 5x to hop into something that maybe is going to 6x doesn't necessarily seem worth the trouble, right?
Mhm. Well, you decide. Let us know if you're listening to this in the comments on YouTube or on Spotify, or send us a tweet. I want to know, are you guys going to sell your ETH and move it into Solana? Curious how many of you are doing it or how many are sticking strong in ETH. No matter what, do your own research. Don't just listen to us. Do your own research, make your own plan, and think for yourself. That is the most important in when you're making these investments, because as Lark said, they are high risk. Lark, thanks so much for joining us again today. Stick around to hear an ad from CoinGecko API with a special offer just for your listeners. Thanks so much for listening in, everybody. Have a wicked awesome day. Every crypto project needs reliable on-chain data. At Milk Road, we trust CoinGecko API for dependable crypto prices for you. And it's not just us. CoinGecko API supplies thousands of crypto projects with comprehensive data, including prices, market trends, NFT data, and on-chain DEX data. Best part, its integration and developer resources make it easy to set up. Friends of the Milkman, guess what? You get a free trial right now. Visit CoinGecko.com/API and use code MilkRoadTrial today. Thank you for listening to Milk Road Radio, the easiest path to get smarter about crypto. If you like this episode, share it and hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, then we'll leave a link to Milk Road Pro as well, your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto is risky, so you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and we'll see you in the next one.